Good morning. Good morning. Welcome for Tuesday training. Hope you guys are doing fantastic out there today. It's cold in Austin today. We had a little cold spell come in. But super excited for today. We got, as usual, we got a little bit of news. Medicare is hot in the spotlight again, as it always is, because they love to use it as a political football. And of course, it's an election year. But we won't get into the politics of it. But I got a couple of interesting articles. They're kind of talking about the future of what's going on in the Medicare space. So I want to prepare you, that this is probably, I've talked about it before, it's probably going to be a very hectic AEP this year. There is a lot shaping up, and we're basically 2 weeks away from finding out what the CMS final rulings are. It's due to be released by April 1st. Don't know if they'll release anything early, but by April 1st, we should know what the heck is going on with that last CMS proposal that came out there regarding compensation, co-op dollars, FMO structures, hierarchies, all that stuff. So next few weeks are going to be interesting in the Medicare space. And obviously, I talk a lot about Medicare on this show because it's where I live and breathe. And of course, my friends over at MetaZeus are the ones that help me back this show and sponsor it. I appreciate them. If you're not familiar with MetaZeus, it is an outstanding platform. If you're a Medicare agent out there writing Medicare Advantage and drug plans, you should probably have MetaZeus as one in your tech stack, as I should say, because it will allow you to monitor your MA and PDP business in real time. You don't have to sit around waiting for 2 or 3 months to find out you have a chargeback. You will know that Betty rolled her policy within 24 to 48 hours, as long as you use it. I look at it about every couple of days and compare my book, see what's going on, because it is OEP right now. And as we know, if you have a Medicare Advantage plan for the next 11 days, you can make a change to your Medicare Advantage plan if you choose to. So get MetaZeus, stay on top of your book. If you're curious about it, hit up our boy, Evan McGuffey. He's in the group. Great member here. He is behind the platform. He can get you a demo, etc. And we'll make sure that the link for it is in the comments, although I'm pretty sure it's blistered all over our Facebook group in different areas. But with that said, let's jump into a wee bit of news. Let's get it going. Let me make sure I got the right one here. Boom. So first up to bat, if you're out there selling D-SNP plans, you could be in for some changes. Probably not, but maybe. This article talks about basically that Medicare and Medicaid plans could drastically change. As always, they're using an emotional headline there, but it's pretty interesting what's going on here. You have a bipartisan group of U.S. senators has proposed a new law to integrate the two plans in a more seamless program. Right? There's a handful of senators out there that have created something called the Delivering Unified Access to Life-Saving Services, or DUALS Act of 2024, right? And it is designed specifically for Medicare and Medicaid dual eligibles. Basically, what they are saying is, number one, patients that are dual eligible with Medicare and Medicaid generally have worse outcomes than other groups, even though there's more money spent on their care, right? These are the people that tend to have a more complex situation going on. They are more vulnerable beneficiaries and so forth. And they go on to say that basically Medicare and Medicaid don't often coordinate care for those enrolled in both programs, ultimately leading to poorer outcomes. Now, we know that a lot of the D-SNP plans that are out there are designed to help coordinate those two programs into a unified plan to help them. So in a lot of ways, we do kind of already have those plans, but they want to go a step further with it. And it says that if passed, the DUALS Act would require each state to develop a comprehensive and integrated health plan for dual eligible beneficiaries. That could either be an entirely new system or an addition to existing coverage options. They don't really get into what they would like to see from the states. They're just basically saying, hey, we're going to pass a law that requires states to create something that hopefully will be better to coordinate both Medicare and Medicaid. It's good that they're putting on the states for one reason. That's obviously because Medicaid is administered by the states, right? It's a federal program basically, but it's administered by the states. Each state has their own kind of benchmarks for Medicaid qualification, et cetera. So interesting that we're probably going to see some changes there, or certainly could see some changes there. And this is going to lead into some of the other articles that I'm talking about. But again, they're basically saying, hey, we need to talk to the states and get them to create a health plan that better coordinates. What effect that might have on DSNP plans, I can't say. I don't know that it would replace DSNP plans. I would assume they would probably create something that piggybacks on existing plans, such as these DSNPs. It could create a better set of DSNP plans, right, with better coordination, better benefits, better support by the individual states. Obviously, that's all speculative, but it definitely needs some help. So pretty simple little thing there, just kind of pointing that out that, hey, you got a bipartisan group that is trying to pass this act. If they get it passed, then you're going to see the states start creating different health plans designed specifically for duals. Hopefully will be in our benefit as agents, that it will create something that we can continue to use to serve our clientele and take care of them. But as they say, it could be an entirely new system, and that could or could not impact us in a negative way. Hard to say at this point. But maybe pay attention to that bill. I'm kind of watching it and following it. If I see more updates on it, I'll let you know. But moving on, man, Medicare Advantage is under fire. I put this article in the group earlier today, this morning. This is an article, a proposal to improve the value of the Medicare program. And when I read the whole article in full. It's an outstanding article. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it is very lengthy. And it's I will say it's a very excellent article. It's well written. It's well thought out. And it was so good that I was kind of curious, who are the authors that wrote this article? And they're listed over here on the right. You can see Micah Johnson, Donald Berwick, and Richard Gilfillan, I believe is how that name is pronounced. Micah Johnson's a doctor. Also on the board of the Health and Human Services. Donald Berwick is a former administrator at the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, originally appointed by Obama. And Richard Gilfillan, also a doctor, who is considered I believe, a senior fellow of the Health and Human Services Department. So these guys are definitely well-versed in what they're talking about here. These aren't just opinionated columnists, so to speak. They point out that, number one, this new Center for American Progress analysis finds that Medicare Advantage plans are overpaid 22 to 39%, and that savings from curbing MA payments could be used to improve the Medicare program for all beneficiaries. They go on to argue, and before I jump a little bit further on this, if you're an agent out there in the Medicare space and you believe that Medicare supplement plans are the better product, for whatever reason, I'm not here to get into that argument with you right now, but if you do, and I don't blame you if you do, maybe it's because of the demographic or the geography that you're in, that MA plans just kind of suck, and so Medicare supplement plans generally are better. If that's your opinion, and you're certainly right to have it, articles like this are what you should be talking about in your social media. It's what you should be presenting to some of your clients to kind of point out, hey, this is not just an opinion piece. This is a very well thought out, studied article that talks about how Medicare Advantage plans are basically, well, just like it says, they're being overpaid. And that overpayment is obviously drawing from Medicare. So it's sucking the hospital trust fund drier faster than original Medicare would, for example. Things like that increase premiums for Medicare beneficiaries for Part B because they're having to make up for it because they're paying these MA plans so much. You can get into some of those arguments, and you can use that to point out the possible financial instability of Medicare Advantage plans. You can certainly point out some of the negatives with them and use that to better position your Medicare supplement plan. You can also use articles like this to better position hospital indemnity plans and other ancillary coverage. It's funny because I don't see a lot of agents utilizing good news and maybe even some proper opinion pieces on as tools to help them position their services, their products, et cetera, et cetera. So just pointing that out. But anyway, I'm not going to go through this whole article. Basically, number one, they're stating that, hey, MA plans are overpaid. And because they're overpaid by Medicare, right? Medicare is the hospital trust fund, which is already being depleted. They are depleting it faster than just original Medicare is. And then the argument is that if we can shore up those overpayments, we can save original Medicare money. We can still create a good product with Medicare Advantage plans by creating an alternative for them, but we need to put the two programs on par. If it cost a beneficiary X amount of dollars to get served under original Medicare, it should cost the same amount of money to treat that beneficiary under Medicare Advantage, right? But that's not the case currently. Right now, it costs, at least according to this article, and I tend to believe it, it costs X amount of dollars to treat a person under original Medicare, and it costs X plus more money to treat them under a Medicare Advantage plan. And I'm going to point out, or they point out, I should say, which is what I want to go over in this article, some of the areas of where this overpayments are coming from. And if you see at the top there, as I said, they believe that MA plans are being overpaid by 22 to 39%. That's a lot of money when you're dealing in billions of dollars. So here are the areas. I'm just going to scroll down and show you the sources, right here, sources of Medicare Advantage overpayment, right? They talk about the scale of it. And this is pretty interesting, this little piece here. This is what I posted in the group. When considered over the long term, the magnitude of these Medicare Advantage overpayments is immense. The Medicare Board of Trustees projects that from 2023 to 2032, total payments to MA plans will pass $7 trillion. And without reform, Medicare is at the risk of overpaying MA plans between 1.3 and 2 trillion over that same time period. That's a lot of money. So where are these overpayments coming from? Well, we've already heard about upcoding and risk score gaming, right? And this is the practice of providers using different billing codes, using billing codes or diagnosis codes for a patient that gets them more money, right? Or adding an extra diagnosis code so they can get more money for that patient. In some cases, it is flat out fraudulent. We already know that Cigna had to pay $172 million back to Medicare for their practice of overcoding. I believe United Healthcare is under fire for it. There's a few others that have been under fire for overcoding and upcoding, but that is a problem. How big of a problem it is, I don't believe it's really that big, but it is an issue. I mean, if they are overbilling or overcoding, then they are, to a large extent, fraudulently getting more money out of Medicare where they shouldn't. So I understand that argument. I think in a lot of cases it is conflated. I don't think it's as bad as it is usually made out to be as a problem, but it's definitely a problem. When you got a carrier like Cigna getting fined or sued, I should say, or whatever it is, 172 million, it's obviously an issue. So upcoding is a big part of it. Selection bias. MA plans tend to enroll beneficiaries who are healthier and more profitable than beneficiaries who choose traditional Medicare, even after accounting for risk scores. I don't know that that's necessarily true either. But again, they're saying that that's true. They're saying that MA plans tend to enroll beneficiaries who are healthier and more profitable, meaning that they don't utilize the plan as often as someone who's obviously sick. I'm not sure that that's perfectly true. Maybe it certainly could be. I don't know that I've seen those particular statistics in regards to the health of the population that are on MA plans and how they've maybe fragmented that. But health plans have a significant and obvious financial incentive to enroll beneficiaries who are healthier than average at the same risk score. As a result, plans employ a variety of business strategies to attract healthier beneficiaries. One classic example is through offering gym memberships, which tends to be of value to people who are relatively healthier. I don't know that I'd necessarily buy that either. I'd love to see some really good statistics on how many people are actually taking the gym membership that are a healthier person. I've heard utilization quotes on the gym memberships being extremely low. I'm going by memory now, but I want to say one of the big reasons that United Healthcare dropped Silver Sneakers and moved to their program called Renew Active is because one, Silver Sneakers was costly for them to be a part of, and they found that utilization, meaning the people that were enrolled in the plans that had Silver Sneakers, utilization was somewhere below 20%. I want to say it was down to like 17 or 14%, somewhere in there. May have even been lower, but I don't want to try to exaggerate. I want to say it was just below 20%, like maybe 15 to 17% of enrollees are actually using Silver Sneakers that have it. So I don't know that that's a really big deal that, hey, we're throwing out these gym memberships as bait to attract healthier people. I think it's more as a added benefit to try to get people to become healthier so that maybe they don't have as big a problem. And I don't think that that is a giant issue to create selection bias. Certainly could be, though. I mean, I would know they want more profitable people, so they definitely want to target healthier people to enroll in their plan because that's what keeps rates down, that's what keeps claims down, etc. But I don't know that just throwing on a gym membership is the way that they're getting that. So could be. Moving on, the next one, they say quality bonuses and county adjustments. So obviously we know that MA plans get a quality bonus based on how good their program runs, right? That's part of it. And it says here the MA quality bonus program is intended to incentivize and reward high quality among MA plans. As detailed in recent Urban Institute report, however, the net impact of the program is overly generous payments to MA plans, absent any clear impact on their quality. So they're basically saying that some of these plans are not, we don't have any hard evidence that they're really providing a higher quality product, but they're getting more money. The other big deal that they're talking about in here is risk adjustments for different counties. So certain counties would have a higher risk because of lifestyle, the demographic makeup of that county, the people that live in it, et cetera. So they feel like, hey, people that live in this county, the plans that serve that county are going to experience higher risk. So they're going to experience higher claims. So therefore they get higher bonuses, higher payments. They don't seem to like that. They think that's a problem too. And that has been relatively true across all insurance products, right? We know if you out there sell Medicare supplement products, if you're in Texas and you sell a Medicare supplement in Harris County, which is Houston, those rates are going to be a lot higher than they are in, say, Austin, Travis County, where lifestyle is supposedly a little softer. I don't know if that's going to last in Austin because it is getting crowded and busy here in a fast heartbeat. So it wouldn't surprise me to eventually see Austin rates go up. But we know that in bigger cities, bigger urban areas where there's more stress, more environmental pollution, things of that nature, rates are higher. So they're saying that those county adjustments also exist in Medicare Advantage plans for those bonuses. They don't agree with that. They think that there are some issues in those bonuses, and they want to curb them, so to speak. And they're also doing it in regards to ethnicities, not just necessarily counties. The next thing they talk about is the effects of supplemental coverage on traditional Medicare benchmarks. And this one puzzled me for a minute because I didn't think about it as deep as I should have. But I was like, why are supplemental coverage having an effect on MA overpayments? Like, how does that make sense? How does someone having a hospital indemnity plan create an MA overpayment? Well, because it increases utilization, right? We know that if someone has original Medicare with a Medicare supplement plan, right, that eliminates all or most of their copayments, they are more likely to use their plan more often. That was a big reason of why they eliminated Plan F for any new people, Plans F and C, right? Because they knew that, hey, if I don't have to pay any copayment when I go to the doctor or when I go to the emergency room or when I go to get whatever it is that I want looked at, I'm going to use my plan more often. Like they did a whole study on that and figured out that, hey, people that have first dollar coverage like Plan F or Plan C visit the doctor more often for even the slightest little fractions of an ailment versus people that have something like Plan G or Plan N, where they would have a deductible and a copayment portion before the plan fully kicks in and give them 100% coverage. So there's also saying the same thing is true for all other supplemental plans, right? So if you have a Medicare Advantage plan with the hospital indemnity, or if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, maybe with a cancer treatment plan attached to it, something like that, you are more likely to use your plan knowing that you're going to get rebated through your indemnity plan. So you're not going to have any cost. You're going to have a very small cost, right? So that drives up utilization, which drives more payments. Plus, the payments are theoretically overpaid because of upcoding and all these other reasons. So that's just another compounding factor, right, that they're throwing on. They're saying that supplemental coverage, they're not talking about additional benefits, right? They are complaining about additional benefits a little earlier in some of those MA overpayments at the top paragraph. But when I'm talking about supplemental coverage, they're talking about Medigap, they're talking about hospital indemnity, et cetera, that those plans are increasing utilization, which increases payments back to the MA plans that are getting used more often. So these guys are wanting to reform it, and they want to reform it big time. So their goal for reforming it is a minimum requirement of MA payment reform that is Medicare should not pay more when a patient chooses Medicare Advantage over traditional Medicare, right? And they even point out that when risk-based private plans were introduced into Medicare back in the 80s, because Medicare Advantage ain't new, it's just a new name for a program that's been around for a long time. So when these plans were first done in the 80s, the payments were deliberately set lower than Medicare. So private risk management plans like Medicare Advantage were actually being paid less. Big reason why they didn't take off, right? Medicare Advantage in some form has been around for a long time, but it's never done well because they haven't been inflating the payments like they've done since 2014 at least, right? When now they're getting this monster subsidy to grow these plans. But then the problem has now compounded that with overpayments, upcoding, et cetera, they're realizing that, hey, these payments are probably too big. So these guys are calling for reform. They want to bring that subsidy and that payment to Medicare Advantage plans down, and they want it to be on par with original Medicare. Imagine, if you will, for a minute, how beautiful your Medicare Advantage plans are. Like if you're an agent, you're in Miami-Dade County, for example, or some of these other counties where you have a zero copayment, zero deductible, zero hospital payments, and you have a $500 max out of pocket for the year. Like those plans exist. How long do you think those plans are going to hold up if Medicare, if the patient receives the same money or the provider receives the same money, whether it's billed under original Medicare or American Advantage? Like all of those added niceties are going to start going out the window. And that's going to get to the next article that I want to jump into. And I got to move quick because we got some stuff to talk about in regards to setting appointments. So they go through some proposals. I'm going to just tie it up right here real quick. I would recommend checking this out, right? They want to eliminate risk adjustment overpayments. They want to eliminate, obviously, the overcoding, upcoding. They don't say anything about reducing supplemental plans. They don't talk about like eliminating supplemental benefits. They're just saying that, hey, these things increase utilization, which is another reason why we need to bring down what we're paying these MA plans. So that article's in the group. Go check it out. The next one I want to talk about a little bit, and this I shared in the group last week, and then we'll jump into some appointment setting stuff. I appreciate you guys hanging with me. Check this out. This is the future of Medicare Advantage. This is a report written by a company called McKinsey & Company, which is a analytical firm of some sort. I didn't do a ton of research into who they are, but I did read this article. Another very well thought out article. And they talk about the future of Medicare Advantage, and they're going to point out basically 5 areas that they see as creating problems for Medicare Advantage in the aspect that, hey, we're going to have to make some serious changes, right? And if you've been paying attention to any of the news in the Medicare space for the last 12 months, probably, you've seen that there's been a ton of reform, right? There's been CMS proposals on payments and different in prior authorization where they've tried to make some efforts to change Medicare Advantage there. We've got the giant CMS proposal that's out there right now talking about compensation structures, FMO hierarchies, et cetera. And then we have proposals to reduce the subsidy to Medicare Advantage plans. I've said this before, but since 2014, Medicare Advantage plans have been getting an increase in their subsidy every single month or every single year. This is the first year since 2014 that we will probably see a reduction in that subsidy. If we see a reduction in that subsidy, we're going to see a reduction in benefits. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You combine all the other stuff that's going on. You have just about every Medicare Advantage carrier out there complaining that they're not profitable enough, that they're losing money, right? You have Prominent here in Providence. God, I can't think of the name, here in South Texas, talking about losing billions of dollars every year. Humana posted billion-dollar fourth quarter losses. United Healthcare has talked about losses. Cigna has lost so much money, they're leaving the game altogether. So I'm not saying I'll say that Medicare Advantage is bad, because I love Medicare Advantage plans. I think they definitely have a great space in the marketplace when they are presented and sold properly. But buckle your seatbelts, because there are going to be some major changes coming down the road to the Medicare Advantage world. They're getting squeezed. They don't make as much money. They're talking about getting a reduction. They're proposing a reduction in the subsidy, which means they're going to receive less money. You have these guys writing this article that want to bring that subsidy or that payment to providers all the way down to be on par with the original Medicare. You have the Inflation Reduction Act that is squeezing them in regards to the drug negotiation prices, that now a big chunk of that has been taken off of Medicare's shoulders and being put back on the insurance company to have to cover that difference to the pharmaceutical manufacturer, PBM, however it works, whatever that is. So they're getting squeezed in a lot of different ways. So we're probably going to see premiums on Medicare Advantage plans. We're going to see reductions in benefits on Medicare Advantage plans. We're probably going to see footprint reductions, or service area reductions, as they call them. So buckle your seatbelt. This is going to be a busy 2025 AEP this year come October. I guarantee it. I don't see any ifs, ands, or buts about it. So just, again, buckle your seatbelt. So here's what these guys are talking about in this article: the future of Medicare Advantage. Okay, and again, I'm just going to summarize a few points that they go through. The first big thing they talk about is, hey, we are due for a product reset. We're due for a product reset. And the blurb that I like about this particular spot is what I just said here. Boom. Even with the possible new reporting requirements and nascent recommendations regarding standardization, supplemental benefits are expected to go from being nice to have to an offering that provides more meaningful strategic upside. With the number of plan options increasing every year, the market may have reached a saturation point, leading to benefit designs that evolve from a buffet to a curated menu. And this supports a lot of what I've talked about when I think about the future of healthcare and why value-based care is so important. They're not talking about, hey, supplemental benefits are going away. They're talking about supplemental benefits are going to get redesigned to provide a more strategic upside. So how can we create supplemental benefits that are going to truly benefit the outcome of the patient, the beneficiary, right? It needs to have a strategic upside to both the plan and the beneficiary and the cost of it, not just, hey, let's throw on a bunch of free shit so that we can entice people to get in our plan, right? So instead of it being this giant smorgasbord of all these cool free things that you can get, it's going to be narrow, and it's going to be more strategic to that specific plan, right? So if you think of a chronic special needs plan that's maybe for someone with COPD, any supplemental benefits that are in that are going to be very directed towards that COPD, right? If it's a standard MA plan, you're probably going to see some very basic supplemental benefits that, again, are designed to help them with their network in that area and help the outcome of the patient, but not just some free shit for the upside of having some free shit, right? It's going to be a very strategic thing, and I pretty much guarantee you're going to see less supplemental benefits this year. I don't see any way around it. Next one they talk about is an aging population, right? We have an aging population. We all know that. Let me make sure I've got the right one. Yeah, right here. It says we expect to see a shift towards next generation care models to better help the higher need aging population access the right care at the right time at the right cost. These models often use technology and data personalized through care, for example, wearables, remote monitoring, telehealth, etc. Right? Telehealth just got another big expansion recently, or extension, I should say, on their money and benefits and approvals. So again, what they're talking about here, like, look, we know we have an aging population. We know we got to take care of them. We are looking to help create more tech solutions that can address the aging population, because in most cases, a lot of them are alone. They don't have family looking after them, things of that nature. So we need good tech. We need the ability for that person to have a remote system that monitors their health, their fitness, their heartbeat, whether or not they've fallen down, right? Things that we can immediately activate an emergency response for. This also includes things that they can, like remotes and wearables that would record, right, the behavior, I guess, of that beneficiary, so the doctor can see it and be like, oh wow, Miss Jones is really getting her steps in today, or whatever it might be. Like, they're looking at things like that that are going to provide a more sophisticated and rapid response data, and give them better telehealth services. So they're looking at how can we address this aging population through a tech solution, because it's more expensive to do it through people. And most people either, again, a lot of these old folks are alone and they don't have the money to have nursing assistants and home health aides and all of these people showing up to their house. And so they're looking at ways we can do it through tech solutions. Next thing they're talking about is star ratings pressures. Star ratings pressures. So there's definitely been some changes here. And right here it says, also in the current rating cycle, plans will face the de-weighting of member experience measures, which will place relatively more emphasis on clinical and pharmacy metrics. So payers are going to need to focus on member and provider engagement through both omni-channel outreach and on-the-ground presence, an area that has traditionally seen lower investments. Basically, again, they're saying that star ratings are too weighted on member experience, which isn't a true measurement of the quality of the product. Just because a member's happy doesn't mean it's a good product that is efficiently managing cost, claims, etc. So there are some adjustments being made to the star ratings this year as well. So we will probably see lower star ratings all around. We're probably going to see some star ratings peel back, is what they're talking about. Opportunities in S&Ps. Another good one here. The dual eligible, the specific little blurb that I wanted to point out. Where'd it go? There it is. The dual eligible cohort is expected to see an EBITDA increase by more than 10% by 2027. This means that payers are now grappling with the increasing imperative to invest further in Medicaid capabilities and partnerships, include through connecting with community partners, social organizations, to remain viable in the market. So again, S&Ps are very profitable. They're growing fast, right? With the Medicaid expansion, we saw a huge D-SNP footprint. We've seen the advent of chronic special needs plans, et cetera. So they're definitely saying that, hey, there are major opportunities here that not only need growth, but need improvement. And they're saying that basically, again, this is still an emerging opportunity, especially in the chronic side, right? Because we're seeing, it says right here, as top line MA population growth begins to slow, payers are continuing to see out-of-pocket growth, and chronic special needs plans may be an emerging opportunity. So expect to see more S&P plans in different ways, especially if those supplemental benefits become more strategic, where they're really pushing in that. And the final thing, what we're about to hear here by April 1st, is broker channel constraints. Now, they don't get into speculating what might happen to us as brokers and what CMS is going to do, but they do talk about something real simple. A fundamental query is whether the new compensation caps would be a forcing mechanism for payers. Their payers is Humana, Aetna, United Healthcare, talking about providers, to bring more distribution into internal systems by enhancing and scaling their own marketing and sales capabilities. Yes, that is the fundamental query behind that bullshit they're about to propose. Is it going to create a system where it produces pressure on FMOs that they can't be profitable, and now payers, providers, carriers are going to start bringing in their own in-house internal sales and marketing force to grow distribution. Yeah, I don't see it happening. But that's the big piece that we all want to know. And again, it's supposed to come out April 1st. So this one's in the group, and I even summarized some of those. You can look at that one from last week. But basically all these articles that I pointed out today should easily tell you that, hey, we are likely going to see some major changes for Medicare Advantage this year. Buckle your seatbelts. Stay informed. Get ready. I'm already seeing agents market now for AEP. They're not using AEP language, but they are pointing out stuff like this in the news to people that are through their clients that are following on social media or whatever. And they're saying, hey, look at all of this stuff that's happening. You're probably going to see some major changes in your benefits, your plan, your Medicare coordination, whatever vernacular you want to use. So get ready, get in touch with me, and let's make sure that we're looking at the right plans for you. So I'm already seeing agents that are out there marketing properly, and they're planting seeds for AEP because we're going to see a shakeup. So, all right, enough of that. Let's talk about what we're here for. So if you have a pen and paper out, and I hope you do, I want you to basically just write down those 5 items with enough space in between them that you can jot some extra notes, right? If you guys have heard me talk about the 5 steps before, it's the 5 steps to a conversation. It's and this isn't my creation. This is old school sales stuff. This is old, very fundamental sales skills, right? It's always good sometimes to go back to the fundamentals and make sure that you know how to dribble the basketball because you're not always there shooting 3-pointers. So this is the fundamental stuff, right? And if you've heard me talk about the 5 steps, you understand that it is something I believe in that is the absolute natural arc of every conversation that you could ever have, whether it's calling someone to set an appointment, whether it's your sales script, whether it is calling a friend to invite him out for a lunch date, whether it's giving a meeting to your team, whether it's giving a Medicare seminar or some kind of educational seminar, a talk from stage, doesn't matter what it is. Every one of them follows those 5 steps from beginning to end. Most of the time, I almost guarantee you're already using the 5 steps when you have conversations with people. You don't even know it because it's such a natural flow. It's the natural way that people talk. There's an introduction, a short story, which qualifies everybody and tells them why they're there. There's a presentation, there's a close and a rehash. It all runs that way. So if we're going to develop an appointment script, we want to start with a fundamental structure for how we're going to build our appointment script, or any script for that matter. I'm just going to use some appointment stuff today because it's quick and easy and we can talk about it pretty fast. And you should immediately, as we go through some of this, start to realize, well, wow, I can use this same thing, and maybe it's not even an appointment script. Maybe I'm one call closing someone because I can, and I can build it in whatever you want. So the key is all we're doing is we're taking these 5 steps and we're going to plug in the statements that we want to say throughout our call that we're doing to set an appointment. And I'm going to do a couple of examples. I'm going to do a very simple example of maybe a life insurance agent, right, that gets a lead and picks up the phone and calls someone to schedule an appointment to go out and see him in person. And then I'm going to give you an example of maybe a Medicare version, because a Medicare version is going to be a little more complex because we have to record our calls. We have to drop disclaimers. We have to do all of that stuff. So I'm going to show you how you can plug those in to your 5 steps to make sure, 1, I'm being compliant, 2, I'm being effective, and 3, I'm closing appointments, because that's what this is about. Pretty simple, right? So the first step is introduction. Like, what is the introduction? The introduction is simple. Now, it's basically simple. It's like, hi, John, this is Tony. That's it. That is my introduction. That is 100% how I introduce myself when I call people on the phone. Doesn't matter if it's a cold call. Doesn't matter if I'm responding, or if I'm calling someone that was a lead response, requested information. My introduction is super simple. Hi, John, this is Tony. So if you have your piece of paper out, write that down, except use your own name. Don't use my name. But that's it. Hi, John, this is Tony. That's your introduction. Now, what's important in that introduction is you have to see the people. SEE, see the people. That is an acronym for smile, eye contact, and enthusiasm. Now, if you're face to face, it's pretty easy to do that. It's pretty easy to convey a smile, make eye contact with someone, and have some enthusiasm about what you're doing. On the phone, it's a little more difficult. Enthusiasm's easy because that's tonality in your voice. Smile, they can't see it, but they can damn sure hear it. Think about it. Say something smiling and try to say the same thing frowning with and sound the same. You can't. It's impossible. People can hear your smile when you're talking to them. So even though you might be calling someone to set an appointment on the phone, smile. Be happy about what you do. They're going to feel it. Eye contact. You can't make eye contact with someone on the phone, but you can be attentive, right? That's all that really means is be attentive. Don't be over here looking at something else while you're trying to call someone and set an appointment, right? Pretty simple. But in my introduction, when I'm writing my script, that's all I'm going to write. Hi, John, this is Tony. Pretty simple, right? Now, my short story is basically where I'm going to establish the reason that I'm calling that person, and I'm going to start the discovery process, right? So I'm basically going to present a statement and then ask a question. And that's all the short story is. It's a very simple piece. It's also short, hence the name. And the key to the short story is exactly that. Keep it short and simple. Kiss it. Keep it short and simple, right? I think it was last week or maybe a couple of weeks ago, I talked about communication and I talked about understanding noise drowns out effective communication. Anything that you're saying on top of what I'm about to give you as a short story, as a basic one, is noise. And the more noise you add on to your communication, the less effective it is, the less that person's hearing it. So again, when it comes to your short story, keep it short and simple. So if I'm a life insurance agent, for example, and I got a lead and I'm calling someone, I might say something super simple like, hey, I received your online request for information on life insurance, and I'm going to be in your area this week, so I wanted to get a convenient time that I can get this over to you. That's my statement. Next thing I have to do is ask them a question. Are mornings or afternoons good for you? That's it. That's my short story. Pretty simple, right? So if you have your page, write something down that is simple. I don't know what kind of leads you're getting. If you're cold calling someone, your short story is going to be a lot different, right? If you're cold calling someone, it's going to be a lot different. Like I used to cold call for Medicare supplement plans pretty often. And usually I would say something along the effect of like, and this is totally cold call. Hi, John, this is Tony. There's my introduction. Never changes. Hey, I'm giving you a real quick buzz because some of the Medicare supplement rates in your area have experienced dramatic increases. And I wanted to make sure you're getting the right price for your services. You're on Medicare, right? That was it. Very direct cold call. It gets a lot of objections. And that's your skill set. We're not here to go over objections. I'm here to show you the flow. So understand as we look at some of this script stuff and this language, understand it never goes as perfectly as this. This is the template. And then as we get objections, we just have to learn how to turn them around. And whether you like to use the feel, felt, found version of turning objections around or the agree, answer, and ask, that's a whole other show and training we'll do sometime. Either one of those work effectively. So as you build your script for appointments, you want to take some of those objections that you're getting, find out where you're getting them in your script. Oh, every time I say this, they're objecting. Maybe I need to reframe my statement or my question, or maybe I just need to learn the best way to turn that objection around and get them back into my script through a straight line selling method. So fairly simple. So again, introduction's easy. Hey, John, this is Tony. That's it. Couple of points in the introduction I do want to say. I don't use my last name. I also don't use my business name. They don't know who the hell it is. They don't know who Tony Merwin is. And it doesn't matter who Tony Merwin is, right? All I'm doing is I'm over professionalizing myself. And now I'm creating a barrier that I have to then hurdle over because they're like, who the hell is Tony Merwin? It now sounds like a sales call. It sounds like a business call. I'm not trying to do that. I want to catch them slightly off guard, and I want to sound like a friendly, casual person that's here to help them out with their issue, whatever it might be. So I'm not ever going to use my last name, and I'm not ever going to use my business name until either of those items becomes recognizable to get the impact that I want, right? Once they know who Tony Merwin is, and I'm a trusted person with them, then when I call them, I'm definitely going to say, hey, it's Tony Merwin. Hey, it's Tony Merwin. How are you? until I again reach another level where I'm so close to this person as one of my favorite clients that I can just start calling myself Tony again around them. But on those first few calls, I'm just going to use Tony because I don't want to create additional friction in the sales call. I want to keep it simple. I want to stay in control. Same thing with your business name. I'm not calling someone and going, hey, this is Tony with the Vila Medicare Solutions. Because they're like, who the hell is that sales call? Now, once they know who a Vila Medicare Solution is, then 100% I'm going to use it. But a brand new person that's in California that's never heard of me before is not going to know who I am if I identify myself by my brand. All I'm doing is creating problems. So my introduction again is simple. Hi, John, this is Tony. So back to the short story again. Hey, I received your online request for some information on life insurance. I'm going to be in the area this week. Are mornings or afternoons good for you, or better for you? Whatever, right? Pretty simple. That's my short story. That is the first qualification question that I throw out. Again, you're likely to start getting objections here. Learn what objections you're getting. Learn to turn them around. That'll be another training for another day. That moves us into the presentation. And if you're like, well, how do you have presentation and appointment setting? That is your presentation, is setting the appointment, right? Is trying to convince them to know, like, and trust you in a very short period of time to allow you to come out to their house and give them a real presentation on life insurance. And when you go to their house, guess what? You're going to follow the same 5 steps if you know what you're doing. You're going to walk up to the house, knock on the door. Hi, John, it's me again. And cruise through the whole thing. You're just going to have different language. So again, short story. I received your online request for information on life insurance, and I'm going to be in your area this week. Wanted to find a convenient time I can get this to you. Is mornings or afternoons better for you? Let's say for intensive purposes, he just says mornings. Now I'm moving into my presentation because I'm trying to present the time that I can get him and close him for an appointment. So perfect. I got openings tomorrow morning or Thursday. You always want to give them 2 options. If you just give them one option, they can say no. And now when you get them on the train of saying no, it's easier to say no later. I'm always looking to build a series of yeses or a series of, by giving them 2 options, you're kind of giving them a false control. You're in control of the conversation, but they think they're in control because they're the one choosing morning or afternoon, Thursday or Friday, 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., right? It gives them a sense of being in control, even though you're the one that's controlling the conversation. So fairly simple, right? That's my basic presentation, is I'm going to sort out getting that appointment, right? So it might go something like this again, for example. Mornings, perfect. I got openings tomorrow morning or Thursday. Which one of those is better for you? And they respond, theoretically, Thursday morning, I'll be home. Excellent. I've got availability at 9:30 and I got another opening at 11. Are you a late morning guy? Something simple like that, right? I'm giving them 2 options. Yeah, 11 is good for me. Perfect. I'll put you down at 11 on Thursday. That's pretty much the presentation section. Now, my close section is going to be verifying the address. Pretty simple, right? I've gotten the appointment pretty quick, but we already know that there's a period of time or a certain number of times that when you set an appointment and go to it, they never show up. So the close and the rehash portion of this whole 5 steps is to damn sure lock down the appointment, verify that we know where they're going to be, and make sure they're going to be there. We want to firm up the appointment and the close and the rehash, right? So a close for me is simple. I'm going to verify the address. Hey, the address I've got for you is 123 Rate Hike Road in Premium Town. Is that right? Yeah, that's me. I'm right next to the St. Mary's Church. Perfect. I know the area well. I've closed them pretty much, right? I know where you live. I'm coming to see you. And then my rehash is going to firm it up. Is there any reason you might not be able to make this appointment? Because I want to lock it down. That might be something to ask. I'm not saying you have to ask that, but that is a good question to ask. Hey, real quick, I appreciate, I got you for 11 a.m. I just want to double check. Is there any reason that you can think of you wouldn't be able to make this appointment? And you close them there, you got them. And then you can go see the appointment. So that is a super grotesquely simplified example of setting a fast appointment, right? I want to get into something a little more deep on the Medicare side, especially since I know some of you guys are Medicare, and it is a little more complicated. And I'm going to present this to you in a way that would work both whether you're scheduling an appointment to go face-to-face or if you're scheduling an appointment to sell by phone. Doesn't matter to me. We got 7 minutes. We're going to go through it quick. So again, if you got your layout right, I've got your 5 things sitting up there on screen. Introduction, short story, close, rehash, right? What is the introduction? It's the same as I said earlier. Hi, John, this is Tony, and I'm going to see the people. That's it. My short story is going to be a little different because now I'm selling Medicare. Your short story needs to, again, present a statement and ask them the first qualifying question, right? We're trying to get discovery going and establishing why we're calling them in the first place, okay? So again, hi, John, this is Tony. Nice and easy. And then and this is definitely something that we would say because we do a lot of business on Facebook. The other thing that I say about your short story, it should match up with how you receive their information. Like that should be included in there, in my opinion. So I would say something like, I received your request through Facebook for information on Medicare plans in your area, and I'm calling you on a recorded line. Do I have permission to record this call as required by Medicare? That's compliant. It's required. We have to tell them that we're recording the call. We have to ask for permission. And some of you might think, wait a second, the appointment call is not the sales call. I would advise you to go back and look at the CMS legislation on this. Anything that's involved in the chain of enrollment is considered a sales call. It's the service calls that I don't have to deal with and do recordings and statements and all that. But calling to set an appointment is considered part of the sales chain of enrollment process, and you absolutely have to record it. So I need to get that out, right? So again, hey, John, this is Tony. I got your request through Facebook for some information on Medicare plans in your area, and I'm calling you on a recorded line. Do I have permission to record this call as required by Medicare? If he says no, I'm going to try to turn that objection around. We're not here to study objections today. We're here just to look at quick script development, right? There's a good chance they're going to say no. It happens from time to time. Doesn't happen often. I would say probably 1 out of 10, they're hesitant on that one. And then you turn it around. You're like, look, I get it. But if you really do have interest in talking about this topic, Medicare requires me to record the call for your protection. Do I have your permission to record? And then they say yes, and you move on. If they say no, you got to terminate the call, is what it is. All right. So again, hey, I received your request for permission or through Facebook for information on Medicare plans in your area, and I'm calling you on a recorded line. Do I have your permission to record this call as required by Medicare? Yeah, you do. Perfect. Thank you. Are you currently enrolled in Medicare? I am still in the short story, right? Because the do I have your permission to record this call isn't so much presentation type material or isn't a real discovery question to get me towards helping them. That is something I just have to do. That's a compliance thing. So my first real qualifying question is, hey, are you currently enrolled in Medicare? Now, how they answer some of these questions, and this is what makes script development in Medicare sometimes extremely complex, because there's so many if-then statements that happen in the conversation, right? But what doesn't matter what they answer, whatever the answer is, my presentation is the next part of what I need to start talking about, right? If I ask him that question, hey, are you currently enrolled in Medicare? And he says, yes, I am. Then I'm going to start my presentation first with a little more discovery, and then we're going to start to figure out what's going on, right? So he might say, yes, I am enrolled in Medicare. Then the next question I'll ask him at the end of my or as I go into my presentation is, perfect. Do you have any other type of insurance like a Medicare supplement plan or Medicare Advantage plan? I want to find out. You're going to get a variety of answer there. As you guys probably already know this. Sometimes they're like, yeah, I got a Medicare supplement plan with the ARP. You're like, cool. What are they charging you for that? Oh, it's free. Oh, it's a Medicare Advantage plan. But I want to find out if they've got something. Okay. And often when you're asking these questions to these Medicare benefits, they'll tell you what their situation is without you having to ask them a lot of times, right? You might ask him, hey, are you currently enrolled in Medicare? And he might say, no, I don't get Medicare until I turn 65 in October. Perfect. That's a question I don't even have to ask now. And that's something like that is pretty common. Or another question might be, hey, are you enrolled in Medicare? They're like, no, I didn't enroll in Medicare because I'm still working and I got group insurance, but I'm quitting my job next month. And that's why I requested information, right? Or they might say something like, yes, When you ask them, hey, are you on Medicare? And they say yes. And you're like, perfect. Do you have another type of insurance plan, like a supplement or Medicare Advantage plan? You may hear, yeah, I have a Medicare Advantage plan, but my doctor doesn't accept it. Right. So now we know we know what they have, and we know what the issue is that we start solving. Or you might hear something like, yes, I have a Medicare supplement plan and the price just went up. So we already know why they're reaching out to you. Or they might say something like, yes, I have a Medicare supplement plan, but my sister told me she gets a free gym membership with her plan. Can I get that? So this is all kind of the context of short story, that you're doing some discovery, right? Representing a statement, doing a tad bit of discovery to get them towards your presentation. Now that you know where they're at, right? If they are, no, I don't have Medicare yet because I don't turn 65 till October. Well, your presentation is what's going to come next that addresses what you've learned in the short story, right? And it may be something simple like that. What you really want to do in your presentation is you want to educate and position yourself as the resource for help, right? So the example that I actually created on my little cheat sheet here, I started writing it based on someone that has a Medicare Advantage plan, but their doctor doesn't accept it, as an example, right? So again, your presentation is going to vary based on how they answer those questions in the short story. One script here is not going to serve everything. So you're going to have to create a little bit of a script for someone that you find out is in their IEP. You're going to have to create a little bit of a script or presentation material for someone that you find out has a Medicare Advantage plan, but their doctor doesn't accept it, or that they still have group insurance and they're finally leaving their job. You're going to have to think about some of those different little presentation pieces. They're going to be short, but all you got to do is educate them real quick and then position yourself as a resource. So the example that I created here was the guy that has a Medicare Advantage plan and his doctor doesn't accept it, right? So I'm going to educate and position myself as a resource for help with a simple statement, something like, hey, understood. We just got to find a plan that your doctor does accept. I help my clients with this all the time. What's your doctor's name? Gives you his doctor's name, Dr. Johnson. Perfect. I tell you what, I just need a little more time to research the plans that Dr. Johnson does accept and get back to you with some recommendations. We can get this resolved pretty quickly. Does that sound fair? That's my presentation. My presentation is like, hey, now that I know something about you and what you're trying to solve, I just need some time. I'm presenting this idea. I need a little bit of time to research plans that Dr. Johnson does accept, get back to you with some recommendations. Is that fair? I want an agreement there. As soon as he says, yeah, that sounds great, guess what? That's where you're going to insert your CMS TPMO disclaimer. You have to get it in a certain amount of time. I'm probably well ahead of 60 seconds easily on this to say it here, but I have to get it in, and that's the perfect spot to get it. I've gotten their agreement to let me research plans and get back to them with some recommendations to solve their exact problem, finding plans that Dr. Johnson does accept. And then I will enter in this. Does that sound fair? They say yes. I'm like, perfect. Medicare requires me to tell you that I do not represent every plan in your area. I currently represent 9 carriers with 54 different plan possibilities. If you want to see all of your plan options, you need to contact Medicare or your state health insurance professional. Now, with that being said, I'm still in my presentation. Now, with that being said, other than finding the right plan that your doctor does accept, is there anything else that you'd like to have in your plan that you're not getting now? What I've done here is a build, break, build. Okay? Build is positive, break is negative, build is positive. So the first build is that first statement that I understand what he says. Hey, I just need time to research the plans that Dr. Johnson does accept and get back to you to solve your problem. Does that sound fair? That's a positive. Like, awesome. Yeah, no problem. You need a little bit of time to help solve my problem. That's great. And then, unfortunately, that CMS disclaimer can be viewed as a negative in some ways. It's not a huge negative, but it's not the greatest thing to have to say. So that's kind of a break. So I want to come back behind that with another build statement, right? I don't want to go positive, negative, and continue through my appointment setting from there. I want to go positive, negative, positive, and rebuild that I'm helping them out. Okay. So I'm going to go back through this again. The build statement. Perfect. I just need a little time to research plans in your area that Dr. Johnson does accept. And I'll get back to you with some recommendations. We can get this resolved quickly. Does that sound fair? Yeah. Excellent. Now, here's a CMS disclaimer that sounds negative that I don't like to say, but I have to say that. And then the next thing that I would say would be very simple. Other than finding the plan that your doctor accepts, is there anything else that you'd like to have in your plan that you're not getting now? Right? So, man, this guy really wants to help me. I want to find out what I can do to help him. So I ask him that question. He might say, yeah, man, I could use some better dental coverage. This stuff I've got with Humana, they only give me $500. Okay, cool. So better dental. Got it. So we're looking for a plan that Dr. Johnson accepts and better dental. Perfect. That's my presentation, right? I've presented that I can solve your problems, and I've learned a little bit more about what problems need to be solved. So now I'm going to move to the close and start asking for the appointment. And a lot of times, just tell them what to do, man. Just tell them what to do. Don't have to ask too much, but just tell them what you need to happen and what it's going to look like. Now, anytime, this should go without saying, but anytime you ask them some of these questions, shut the hell up after you ask the question and let them answer it. Don't, even if there's some dead air for a minute, let it stick, right? So again, right, we finished up the presentation with, hey, is there anything else other than your doctor accepting the plan that you would like to have in your plan? Better dental and vision. Perfect. I got you. Well, listen, I've got some time available on Thursday. Is morning or afternoon better for you? Let him pick the one. He says morning. Perfect. Look, I got actually got 2 times on Thursday morning. I got 9 or 11:30. Which one of those works best for you? 11:30 sounds great. Perfect. 11:30 it is. Now, guess what you have to do? You got to put your scope of appointment in there. Now, if you are doing all this by phone, which you should be, and this is the way we're explaining this anyway, so you're recording the call already. We already know that you're recording the call because you're required to. Why not just do a verbal scope of appointment? Why make it any harder? If you're already calling someone to set an appointment on the phone and Medicare tells you that you have to record that call, why create more friction in the sales process by doing a manual scope of appointment? I mean, I get it. They're slick. They're electronic by text and email now. No big deal. But you're already recording the call. It's already been stated by compliance that we can use a recorded verbal SOA. So why not just perfectly close them up with your appointment and drop a verbal scope of appointment right now, get it on record, and move on with your happy life? Why do you want to introduce more problems into the process, more friction? The goal is to grease the wheel, not sand it and make friction. So here's an example of a compliant verbal scope of appointment. So again, when I'm closing, I'm gonna go through the appointment time. Hey, I've got openings on this day or this day. I've got is morning or afternoon, is 9 or 11, whatever my times are. I'm always going to give them 2 options to give them that sense of control. Now that we've got the time, 11:30, perfect. I got you for 11:30 a.m. Now, our discussion, here's my verbal SOA. Our discussion on Thursday may include information about Medicare Advantage plans, Medicare supplement plans, and prescription drug plans, as well as some different ancillary products such as dental, vision, and hearing plans. I'd like to give you a brief overview of each type of these plan, but if you're only interested in a certain one, just let me know. Now we can decide, then we will be able to decide which plan might be best for you based on your needs. Please keep in mind there's no obligation to enroll. Current or future Medicare enrollment status will not be impacted, and automatic enrollment will not occur. Do I have your permission to discuss these plans with you during our appointment on Thursday at 11? And shut up. Don't say nothing after that. And he's going to say yes. They're not going to say no. They're not going to all of a sudden back out. He might ask you a couple of questions about that, but he's going to say yes. I can guarantee you. Perfect. Now you've closed them. That's the close. The close is getting the appointment nailed down, what the time is, and getting the scope of appointment recorded. And if I'm just saying, if I'm you or I'm me and I'm doing telesales, I'm doing a verbal scope, it doesn't make any sense to create more friction. Now, the only suggestion I might give, if you're using a platform like Sunfire, like Connexture, that do make it extremely simple to send a scope, It's not a terrible idea because it already shows them how to sign the app when you get to the app process, because the scope appointment process or the scope signature process and the application signature process are pretty close to identical. So you could argue that, but you're just creating more trouble, in my opinion. Drop a verbal scope, get it recorded, close them. Now we want to rehash them. What is a rehash really? A rehash is a reminder, an upsell, a confirmation. It's the secondary, it's a second close, right? That's pretty much all it is. So my rehash would be something very simple. Excellent, because I just got a scope agreement. Excellent, thank you. And then I'm going to give you a call Thursday at 11:30, prepared with plan information that we can review together. One last question. Are you taking any prescription medications? Well, if you could please have a list of those ready for their call, I can also check pricing for you. Anything else I can help you with before I talk to you Thursday at 11:30? Nope. Excellent. Look forward to seeing you, John. 11:30 a.m. Pretty simple, right? Boom, boom, boom. So I went a little long because I got a little deep in that news. I hope that helps some of you guys figure this out, but I promise you, if you're ever sitting behind your desk, in your car, wherever you're at, and you're like, damn it, I need to make this phone call. I need to run this appointment, but I just don't know what to say. Write those 5 steps down and then go fill in the blanks. I don't care what it is. I've said this before. You can use these 5 steps to sell an appointment. You can use these 5 steps to close a piece of business. You can use these 5 steps to run your morning meeting. You can use these 5 steps to build your Medicare seminar. You can use these 5 steps to give a talk on stage. You can use these 5 steps, Alex, to go pick up chicks at the local Peach Pit or wherever it is that you go hang out. They work. So anytime you're having some writer's block and you don't feel like you know what to say on the appointment or to call, just break these down and start building it. This is the template. Introduction. What's important? See the people. Hey, how are you doing? That's it. Hi, how are you? My name's Tony. Right? Short story. Present a statement. Ask a question. Hey, I'm calling you because are you this? Presentation is when you're given through the meat of what you're trying to accomplish. Close, boom, nail it down, rehash, confirm that you got it closed. Because just a soft close doesn't always help. Close them twice. So that's the purpose of the rehash. So hope you guys are doing great. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm sorry I'm over time. Go have an awesome, awesome Tuesday. We will see you next time, next week. Tuesday training, 9 a.m. Adios.